A chorus of media this week asked the question, where is the oil? The takeaway from that question is, if you can't see it, it must be gone, right? Well, Mike Frenette might have some words about that. He is a charter boat captain in southern Louisiana. And Mike, you said this week, if people want to know where the oil is, you'll be happy to show them where it's at. I guess, what is your take on this question that was raised this past week? You've heard it from federal officials. You heard members of the media picking up on it, obviously, after the federal officials said it, that the oil is vanishing quickly and that we just don't see as much of it anymore. What's your take on it?
Well, Jim, vanishing quickly is certainly a different terminology because we have approximately 175 million gallons of oil that is unaccountable in the Gulf of Mexico, south of Venice. And what we have is oil that has been contaminated with the dispersant, so it's subsurface oil now. And what we're seeing, depending on the currents, depending on the conditions, wave action, tidal winds, everything, this oil is now moving inshore from underneath. You don't see it as it's approaching. It just inundates the coastline along the beaches of South Pass, Southwest Pass, Pass Salute, the areas, the richest area of the Delta region south of Venice. And the complications, we really have to be concerned about our wetlands, and this subsurface oil is sitting on the bottom. There's a lot of grasses that you can't see, vegetation below the surface. If we lose that vegetation, we're going to lose an accelerated amount of our wetlands that we cannot afford to lose, because this is the area where all of our finfish, our shellfish, they're raised, they're born here, and
Right.
we have to really be concerned about all of this. Not only that, the juveniles, the embryos, the eggs, the larvae of all these species, from finfish to shrimp to crabs that were born this year, are becoming in contact with this subsurface oil. We have, look, there's no question they've done a tremendous job on cleaning up the surface, but we got to clean up the bottoms.
Yeah, well, and that's the part that you can't see. And I guess, you know, you brought with your presence here today some pictures, some photographs of what we're up against out there. Let's look at some of those pictures and talk about that, because obviously, you know, this is proof that the oil is still there. I guess, Mike, do you get frustrated when you hear that I guess that storyline emerged this past week? Where's the oil? Boy, the oil's all gone. Hey, we're out of the woods. I mean, that must have been pretty frustrating for you.
Unfortunately, perception really is a strong point here, because the rest of the nation may seem like just because the oil on the surface is gone, and it kind of seems like BP wants to make that image that everything is back to normal. We're not even close to being back to normal. And like I said before, we have 175 million gallons of oil that's unaccounted for right now, that's subsurface, below the surface, that has the potential of contaminating a lot of vegetation, a lot of the wetlands, a lot of the marine life, and a lot of the animals. We have to be very, very concerned about this, that the Coast Guard and the federal government has got to keep pressure on BP to maintain 100% of the cleanup efforts. Just because we can't see the oil on the surface doesn't mean that we have the potential for serious problems below the surface.
Do you think part of the reason why we heard so many optimistic assessments, rosy scenarios this past week, is because, you know, this has been such an agonizing, traumatic experience that's gone on for months and months, that just people just want this to be over with, and that includes the federal government and obviously BP.
And no question, myself included, and all the members of our Charter Boat Association and Guide Association out of Venice, we want this to be over. But it's not over, and it's not going to be over. It's not going to be over and done with overnight. We have some tremendous issues that we have to deal with, and there's no question that people want this to go away. I want it to go away, but we have to be realist about this, that there is a tremendous amount of, if you want to call it, pollution below the surface as a result of this. It wasn't me. It wasn't us. It wasn't the rest of the people of the nation that decided to use the dispersant on the oil on the surface. And that created the out of sight, out of mind type of venue that we're looking at right now. So now we're faced with a tremendous amount of oil that's below the surface that's causing, or has the potential to cause, serious damage. And this is the oil that really has to be addressed. Certainly the oil on the surface, to me, is the easier one to address and to clean up. Now we have a tremendous amount of oil, again, below the surface, that has to be addressed, because it's going to cause serious problems in the future. It may not be causing problems today, but 2, 3, 4 years down the road, we're going to see serious problems if this oil is not cleaned up below the surface.
Well, Mike, you bring us some excellent points, and you can you can say it better than just about anybody out there that this is an ebbing and flowing disaster. And just because one week the oil doesn't appear to be out there doesn't mean that we're going to be, home free in the next week or the month after that. As you said, there's a lot of that subsurface oil that we have to contend with. Charter boat captain Mike Frenette joining us live from New Orleans this afternoon. Mike, we could go on all day about this, but they won't let us. So appreciate your time for us this afternoon. Thanks so much.
I understand.
Sir. All right. Good luck to you, sir.